Hey everyone, welcome back to Eat See Wander. My name is Selma and today I'm going to be going through a beginner's guide to booking and packing for a trip to Japan with one bag travel in mind. So let's get started. Step one, you've already completed. You have decided you want to go to Japan, but now the next step is figuring out where you want to go and what time of year you want to go. Step two is deciding what time of year you want to go. So we'll start with spring. The pros to spring is that it's cherry blossom season, and with that comes mild weather and a pretty comfortable setting overall. But the cons to that is usually cherry blossom season seems to see a lot of crowds and prices go up naturally, and with that there is Golden Week, and that is when most people are off, so it's even more crowded and more expensive than it usually would be. Next up is summer. So the pros to summer are if you're traveling with your family and you have kids, they're out of school typically, so that opens up a lot of availability. If you're interested in hiking Mount Fuji, it also is a good time to go during the summer. But the cons of summer are, although the crowds wouldn't be as bad, it's very humid and very hot. So if that's not your kind of temperature or your environment, maybe stay away from the summer months. That brings us to the fall time or autumn. That is when we are planning to go. We're actually going in a couple weeks and I'm so excited. The temperature should be more mild and less humid than it is during the summer. Above that, it is still a more touristy, crowded time of year because the leaves start to change and the temperature has gone down. So that does mean that lodging prices do go up a little bit. But I think overall it's a lot more comfortable, especially if you're doing one bag travel. You don't have to pack a ton of really heavy items and you can just layer up as needed. Oh, and I almost forgot, onsen season starts in the fall. So if you're interested in going to ryokans or going to onsen baths, this is the time of year to go. And last but not least is winter time. The pros to winter is if you're not really into hot weather and you love the cold, this is your time to go. If you are into snow sports, Hokkaido is very popular. And also, if you're going to see Mount Fuji, this is the clearest time of year to go see it. So these are the pros, as well as the beautiful Christmas lights and onsens as well. The cons are that snowing can kind of slow you down a little bit considering Japan is a walking city, and one bag travel can be a little bit tricky if you are trying to bring a lot of bulky items. My thought is maybe wear them on the plane and put thermals and layering options in the backpack. And lastly, it can get expensive because of the high tourism in the snowy parts like Hokkaido. Step three is flights, passports, visas, and figuring out how you want to travel. This video primarily focuses on one bag travel, and with that in mind, it is very important to check with whatever airline you are considering to make sure that the backpack you want to travel with fits within those size restrictions. For example, I'm flying economy on ANA and I am allowed a personal item and carry-on that will not exceed 15 kg, which is about 22 pounds. And I am also allowed a checked bag for free, but we are not taking advantage of that on the way there. We're just gonna get a duffel bag and fill it with souvenirs on our way back so we don't have to carry as much around the city of Tokyo or wherever you end up going. When I was looking for flights, I ended up going on Google Flights and just kind of tracking. I was tracking 10 months out, so unfortunately I did miss out on some amazing priced flights for two back in January. And when I did end up booking it, I booked it in March, and for full transparency, I paid $1,400 for two adults round trip tickets based out of California. So we're doing LAX to Haneda, so about $700 per person round trip. So that's still a really great price. The further you can book it out, the better. I know some people have to get time off. We're regular people and we had to wait to get our time off, but we were like, we are going. So point being, as soon as you know that you have the time off or when you'll be able to go, book those tickets because they are really not going to get cheaper the closer to date, at least not from what I've noticed. But regardless, do go onto Google Flights and sign up for their email notifications. They'll let you know when things have dropped, and you can put, where you're starting from, where you want to go, and the type of flight. So that's what we did for ours. Passports and visas, take care of those things as soon as you can. You don't want to be approaching, your upcoming flight and getting excited, and instead of excitement, you're riddled with stress because you forgot to renew your passport or apply for your visa. I'm coming from the US, so I didn't have to do that, but if that pertains to you and your country, then go ahead and do that. Step 4 is figuring out your activities. So the reason I did it this way is that you don't want to be traveling, whether you're with a backpacker or not, you don't want to be lugging anything with you for 45 minutes across town when, at the end of the day, you're going to have to take another 45-minute trip back. So what I did is I planned everything I wanted to do within a reasonable radius so that I can plan which trains I'm going to take, and with that, accommodation. So that is step 5. Step 5 is booking your lodging and hotels. So key to one bag travel is making sure that you have access to laundry services. The reason I put these two together is because with one bag travel, having laundry services is paramount. You don't want to be sweaty or stinky and have to rewear things that are dirty, so you can wash as often as you'd like. And having laundry services in the hotels that you book is going to be such a stress reliever and a time saver. So depending on your price point, you have different options. You can do a capsule hotel, which honestly, depending on the time of year, sometimes is not the cheapest option. I've seen some very expensive capsule hotels during the autumn time. And, considering that I could get a business hotel for not too much more, that made more sense for me in the long run than a capsule hotel. So we foregoed capsule hotels this time around. But you also have hostels, and you have business hotels, which is what I opted for. You also have ryokans, and it just goes up from there. Depending on your price point, if you want to spend less on lodging, you might be a little bit further out of the city and in turn a little bit further away from train stations. But if you have a backpack, you don't have to worry about any of that because everything is on you. And if you don't want to carry your backpack and you're in between hotels, you can put it in a coin locker. Most train stations around the city, major cities, have coin lockers available to you. So, if you have an air tag in your backpack, you can use that to avoid losing them. So that'll be my recommendation for the lodging and laundry situation. Step 6 is plan out your transport and logistics. So for that, it kind of goes hand in hand with the activities and the hotels. Plan your activities, plan a hotel around there, and then see if you can find what train lines you're going to have to take to make it make sense for you. The last thing you want to do is spend 45 minutes going one way when you could have just spent 5 minutes going down the street to your next activity and then 10 minutes down the street and just knock them all out and maybe just do one long way back at the end, but you've already completed everything you wanted to do on the way there. So for example, a mistake that we made is we booked Tokyo Disney, and the hotel that we booked was Villa Fontaine, and that is located on one of those smaller kind of detached man-made islands that doesn't have a lot of trains going through it. But the only train that we paid attention to was the one that was going to get us from the hotel to the theme park. So while that's very convenient, the problem is the next day we want to go to Tsukiji Market, and there is no transport going in that direction. It is a 45-minute walk to Tsukiji Market from our hotel, and while that may be the case for a lot of people and they are willing to walk the 45 minutes, the last thing I want to do is carry a 15-pound backpack 45 minutes down the road. So we're going to have to spend a little bit of our money to take a hotel to take us to Tsukiji Market in 10 minutes or less, which makes sense time-wise, so it makes sense financially. But if that's not your circumstance and you want to be a little bit more frugal on that trip, just be sure to plan it in this way so that you don't fall into this situation. Step 7 is testing the items in your bag and retesting them multiple times. So since I booked these tickets, I have been packing and repacking the Cotopaxis that you see right here. So I started with everything I thought I could have wanted, comfort items, my blow dryer, things that I use on a daily basis that I thought would be very necessary for this trip. So when I was packing, I was reaching the higher end of the weight allotment for my ANA flight, and I wanted to reduce the weight as much as I could. So what I ended up doing is every couple weeks or so, I would open the backpack again, kind of check out what I was packing and remove things or figure out if there is a lighter version of that thing I could replace it with. So after all, I ended up not packing my blow dryer, and I took out a lot of cosmetics. I took out, a lot of the liquid allowance that I had available, because a lot of the hotels that I had booked are going to have shampoos and body washes and all that. So it's kind of unnecessary unless you have a must-have shampoo or blow dryer or something that you want, then, pack it. But with one bag travel, the point is to travel light and avoid extra expenses if it's not necessary. So for me, I just wanted to save myself from carrying a bunch of weight. So I foregoed a couple items and kept the things that were really important to me, which is my clothing and having extra room for souvenirs along the way. Something that's very important as well, besides the clothing, the closer you get to date for your trip, check to see what the forecast is, because sometimes it'll be nice and chilly, and then all of a sudden you'll have that one day where it's just randomly hot and you're not prepared for it. So I would consider looking out maybe a week or two ahead of time to make sure that you've packed appropriately for your trip. But I cannot stress enough how important this last bit is. Make sure you're taking the correct shoes. I've spent 3.5 months trying to figure out the perfect pair of shoes for Japan, because sometimes your feet just get fatigued after walking for a long time, and I didn't want any of that. So I actually ended up going with the Hoka Bondi 9s. I was originally going to take some Brooks. I think they were like GTS 22s or something like that, but they ended up not working out for me. My husband actually is taking those shoes on his trip, but as a female, and I'm 5'8" and on the curvier side, I felt like the Hoka Bondi 9s were the shoe for me. I think they are well worth the cost. If you haven't tried them, go ahead and try them out. You can find them at REI. I don't know how many Hoka stores there are, but I ended up getting mine from REI. And if you have the membership and they just don't work out, even if you use them, you can return them. So take advantage of these things. Step 8 is save a couple days for souvenirs. So what I ended up doing is I am spending 5 days in Tokyo and then going down the Golden Route. So we're doing 2 days in Osaka, 2 days in Kyoto, and then we're coming back for another couple days before we head back home. And so on our way back, we are going to spend the last 2 days really just buying souvenirs. So we're going to go to Don Quixote. We're probably going to stay in Shinjuku for that, and just buy all of the things that we wanted to do. We're going to make a day trip to Sunshine City Mall, maybe go back to Skytree. And because we have backpacks, it makes us a lot more mobile, and we can just get all the things that we were not able to get in the beginning of the trip. That is what I would do in order to save yourself from lugging around heavy baggage around the city, and you can still take all the things you want to take with you at the end of your trip. Step 9 is just enjoy. Japan is a once-in-a-lifetime trip for many, and you don't want to be stressed out when you're going. So with one bag travel, you may end up missing a couple things, but there's nothing that you can't just buy in Japan. So although you're doing all your due diligence, give yourself some grace and really just enjoy being in the moment. And that's the end of the video. If you stayed to the end, thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. If you like content like this, please do consider subscribing, and commenting. I do really appreciate when people talk to me in the comments and let me know any questions or concerns or things that I didn't address in the video, because it is kind of difficult to get everything in one try or in one video. So yeah, I'd love to hear from you, and thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great week. Bye.